Yes. Yeah. Yeah, this is stellar. I'm in love.
I'm Jin Love. I'm Jin Love.
I'm in love.
Part 4?
All right, part 4. I didn't have any classes with Fletch and rarely saw him in the halls, but I had 2 classes with Drew DeLuca, and he had lunch the same period as Fletch, so I had him pass along that I wouldn't need a ride. When 6th period let out, I made my way over to the parking lot where Alina was waiting for me next to her blue 98 Beetle. We got in and blasted the heat. Unlike Fletch's ancient Civic, Alina's Beetle actually warmed up pretty quick. Everything but the silence was comfortable.
Do you want to get it right into it?
Alina looked at me out of the corner of her eyes. They were so blue.
Mm.
Shook her head.
No,
Not while I'm driving.
We rode in silence until we pulled up in front of a good-sized colonial house.
Is this okay? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't want to talk about it in public. It's totally fine.
Alina looked relieved as she hit the garage door opener. It was like she thought bringing me over to her house was really putting me out. Getting out of the car, I noticed the garage was otherwise empty. We were alone. Abby, an aging golden retriever that the Amanevs apparently didn't kennel, greeted us with her tail wagging and her leash in her mouth.
I have to take her out. Make yourself at home.
Just being inside Alina's house felt so intimate. Identity is everything to a teenager, and to bring someone else into your home was to expose a part of you that was beyond your control. It was laying bare the environment that had produced you. When I had first entered Fletch's house, his discomfort was evident. His house was just a place he passed through to get to his room. For Scary Carrie, her house was a source of shame. Mrs. Peterson's small, ill-kept home was a constant reminder to Carrie, not just of her parents' failed marriage, but of her mother's lack of achievement, lack of education. They were both stuck there, in a house that smelled of deli meats and the water that feta cheese is packed in. Ew.
I know, right? It's not fucking gross. You know why I don't like that too is because I know that it's packed in, but there's like it's just the juicy wet layer that's
the
also
water
in there.
that's left
I
in the
fucking hate the
package
water
after
in
you
the
pull it out. Yeah,
I hate that, dude. Ugh.
A smell that started in Mrs. Peterson's work clothes but now infused everything they owned. I entered Alina's house with the same reverence I would a church. It had a feeling to it that put you in the mood to sip hot chocolate and watch the snow fall. There were candles and tea lights on the tables and holiday-themed knickknacks on the walls. The piney scent of a Christmas tree filled the air, and as I collapsed onto their overstuffed couch, it occurred to me that, for the first time all day, I felt relaxed. After she returned, Alina led me downstairs into the game room, a finished basement dominated by a full-size pool table. She offered me a soda from the mini fridge behind the wet bar, then we sat down on a love seat in front of the big screen TV. Alina stared at me while I spoke. I stared back. It was impossible to look anywhere else. I recounted the story Fletch had told me, as faithfully as I could. All the while, I was very conscious of where her legs were in relation to mine. They tugged at me as if they had gravity. That is the most teenage boy thing ever. Like,
I know.
What if I cross my legs this way and our ankles touch a little bit? What
Exactly.
if like?
Well, I guess we're barely touched, so we're kind of like in love. So
Yeah. Oh. She threw her arm back and like my wrist touched like a little bit below her elbow. So
Yeah,
we're kind of an item now.
we're basically dating.
We're basically dating. She's having my kid next month. Yes.
I'm 16.
I'm 16. Yes, I will never financially recover from this.
Yeah, no shit.
She seemed fine the whole time I talked, but the moment I was done, she began gasping for air, like she'd been holding her breath. Then the sobbing started. I was quick to close the gap between us. I held her for several minutes while her slender frame shook and quivered. When she regained her composure, she slowly withdrew to her end of the love seat.
Oh, God. I'm sorry,
she said, wiping her eyes with her sleeve.
Don't be. I'm such a mess. I feel ashamed when I'm happy and like a victim when I'm ashamed. It takes everything I've got to keep it together. It's exhausting. Have you talked to anyone? Seen it? Yeah, but she won't give me anything. That's not a bad thing. So, you don't believe any of it?
Her right leg began bouncing up and down on the ball of her foot.
I thought you were Mr. Ghost Hunter.
I scoffed. The corner of her mouth twitched as if she were about to smile, and for a fleeting second, I felt connected to her, to the old Alina. I didn't run around telling everyone I met why I cared so much about ghost stories. I didn't wear anything that personal on my sleeve. But I told Alina. She listened and nodded and understood me.
You something?
She nodded.
Why does it matter to you if the widower's clock is real? I need them to be wrong about me. The people who stare at me in the halls, blame me, like Fletch and John Murphy. Fletch is just hurting. He doesn't blame me, not really. Yes, he does. Everybody does. All they get are these little snippets about how much Rob loved me. I've heard them all talk about it. They say I thought I was better than him because I live in a big house, or because he wasn't a jock, or because he was nerdy. He loved me, and I was the bitch for rejecting him.
Lena pulled her legs up to chest and hugged her knees. I remember being struck by how much she looked like a little girl. It seemed strange at the time, but in hindsight, at scarcely 17, Alina practically was a little girl. A kid realizing for the first time that her classmates felt entitled to opinions about what she did with her body and affections. I wanted to tell her that it wasn't true. That no one really believed she was a snob about money or shallow or rich. I wanted to, but I didn't think it.
The truth is, the only thing I really know about him is that he made me uncomfortable.
I moved beside her and put my arm around her shoulder. I could feel how tense she was as she stared straight ahead.
It's not your fault.
Her hair smelled like vanilla.
God damn, dude, this guy.
Calm down.
This fucking horn dog, I know. He's like, touch her ankles, her fucking, her hair smells like Oreos. It's awesome.
Every time she's like crying, talking about like, and it's my body, and I just feel like everyone else looks down on me because I wanted to do with myself what I saw fit. I didn't owe him anything, and our author's like, her shaved legs.
Yes, luck be a lady tonight. Luck
Which is actually... It's actually kind of like well written in that sense. Like as she is, like we see it through like, haha, he's like a young horn dog or whatever. Like put her there, bro, totally me. But as she's talking about like how she doesn't feel like she has an agency to her own decisions because everyone's judging her based on something that really wasn't in her control and she reacted normally with, the guy is still like oogling her.
Well, yeah, she's still she's still being idolized by another person. She's still being fawned after, in a way too, which makes our protagonist. It doesn't even seem like he's really truly listening to what she's saying. You know what I mean?
No, because anytime she says something, he's like, her legs had a gravity. I was constantly aware of my distance from them. Yeah. Which it's interesting to write that way. And it's also not like our protagonist is evil because, again, this is like...
He's a 16-year-old boy.
He's a 16-year-old boy. Yeah.
Alina, look at me.
She looked so full of uncertainty. Scared. I put my other hand on her wrist.
I'm gonna go down there. To the Quabbin.
She grabbed me by the shoulder and held me like I might fall.
It's okay.
I couldn't help smiling at her concern.
God damn, dude. Come on now. I won't go in. We're just going to listen for the bells.
She studied my face. We were only inches apart. My heart was racing.
Besides,
I said as I leaned in,
I want to.
And I kissed her.
Yeah,
there it is. There he goes.
He's a sleazy dog.
There he is. I'm gonna go listen. I'm gonna go listen to the ethereal Lovecraftian bells that call out from a time now past.
Listen, babe. I plan on going to listen to the bells only if there's some mooch. Come on, just a kiss.
Average 16-year-old when confronted by a single Eastern European woman. Her lips were slow to respond. Doubts raced through me. Was she surprised? Was this a rejection? Had I crossed a line? I felt like Scary Carrie must have back in Greenfield. But Alina didn't withdraw. Maybe it had nothing to do with me. Maybe it was just survivor's guilt. I don't like the wording on that one. Maybe it was just survivor's guilt. That's rough. After a very long couple of seconds, Alina kissed me back. My brain went fuzzy. I almost had to stop. It's tough to kiss with a grin.
Damn, dude. This guy's a player.
This guy needs to get beat up at least once. It'll be good for him. It'll just humble him a bit.
Dude, he's stoked. He's happy. Can a man not be happy?
Yeah, I guess. I was kissing Alina Aminev. I slipped my fingers through her wild hair. Alina, who ran track. I could feel my leg pressed against hers. Alina, who smelled like vanilla and smirked when she used to smile. I tried to press my leg between hers, but she... Whoa. Hold on. Tried to press my leg between hers, but she kept her legs closed. And that was fine. I was just happy to be kissing her.
This reads like, you ever watch the show Peep Show?
No, I haven't.
It's this British comedy show. It's like one of my favorite comedies ever. There's a guy named Mark in that. If any viewers know what I'm talking about, it feels very Mark coded. Anyways, go ahead.
We spent the next few minutes on that love seat. It wasn't the sort of first kiss you imagine. I was nervous and she was still. At the time, I remember thinking it was more intimate than passionate, but that made sense to me. She wasn't in a real good place. Being with her was going to be like building a house of cards. It'd take a slow hand and the slightest misstep could bring her crumbling down. She wanted to drive me home before her parents returned from work. As we were getting our coats on, I said,
"Let's see a movie."
She didn't answer immediately. I thought for a second she hadn't heard me.
I can't.
I kissed her and asked again.
Oh, man.
This man's an animal. But I mean, this is very like 16-year-old coded. To be like, oh, I can do that now? Well, guess what I'm going to do all the time.
Mwah.
Yeah. I kissed her and asked again, but it didn't help.
What if someone sees us?
I wanted people to see us. I didn't care what people thought about her. I didn't even give a rat's ass what Fletch thought about her.
Please don't tell him. Don't tell anybody. I can't handle how they'd look at me.
She broke down. I held her. As I lay in bed that night, I found myself fantasizing about Alina. It wasn't sexual. Hell, it wasn't even about the kiss. It was about the most mundane things. Spooning her while we watched TV. Holding her hand while we walked down the hallways at school. Having little arguments over who'd sit at whose lunch table.
God, dude, I'm cringing to death. It's too real. It's too real.
That's what I was gonna say. This is the most high school.
I want to fucking die.
I'm almost positive that when I was like 15, 14, like this was the exact kind of thoughts I was having about girls I liked. Like
brutal.
Oh, it's rough. It's rough that this author was a 16-year-old boy and very clearly remembers what it was like, because I'm getting flashbacks where he's talking about this stuff. That's when I resolved that I had to find the spire in the woods. Right in the middle of fantasy Alina apologizing for not wanting to sit with my friends and telling fantasy me that I was the most important thing in the world to her. I had to find it for Alina. To get her out from under some of the guilt she held on her shoulders. And was it really so crazy to think there might be some truth to it? Even if I was skeptical of the connection to the widower's clock, couldn't Robert Edward Kinnan have followed the sound of bells? Couldn't he have discovered a spire sticking out of the ground?
Dude, you know
like how he goes from like, this is fake, to being like, well, for Alina, could it be so frivolous?
Well, I like what I like about this is that we've been delving in the serious mode for so long that now our boy is like, listen, I'm gonna find this shit because he's going to justify that finding the spire in the woods is going to give her, it's going to give him the green light to be like, we can be a public couple, is what he's saying.
That's what he's thinking.
That's what I think is happening.
That's what he's thinking. He's like, well, if I can find it, I'll be like the knight who slayed the dragon.
Yeah, which is awesome.
We'll be together. Which is awesome. I mean, the most dangerous, foolhardy things men have ever done in history have been for God and women. That is the only two things we've ever built altars for.
And Pokemon cards. Am I right, boys?
Sure, buddy. I would. You know what? That's something that I definitively will say was not for women.
Yeah, it was Pokemon cards.
Sorry, ladies. Step aside. I got to open up my Pokemon Evolutions pack.
Just a rock hard boner while he's standing in Target.
Are you impressed?
Is that how you met Allison?
Yeah, I met Allison. I was like,
Hello, my lady.
just a huge hard on and Target with the smallest cock you've ever seen protruding from basketball shorts.
Are you impressed?
Looks like Wilbert's tail from Charlotte's Web.
It's corkscrewed.
His little corkscrew cock. Yeah.
Maybe even found a body. Hadn't Fletch mentioned someone had gone missing from that trailer park? If he had found a corpse, that could have certainly pushed him over the edge. Thoughts sent a shiver up my spine. The last couple of weeks before Christmas vacation were always filled with midterms and projects, and that year was no exception. It was the last thing in the world either of us wanted to do, but with the group project due Monday, I had to meet Scary Carrie at the library. We were bullshitting while I busted my rear end looking for sources for our presentation on Robespierre. I had practically carried Carrie through the first half of European history when I told her that I had changed my mind. I wanted to visit the Quabbin. Carrie was thrilled.
When do you want to go?
There you go again. There you go again with that voice.
I don't know. Sometime over break, I guess. We should try to figure out everything about them. Who? The clockmaker and his wife. Sure, Carrie, just don't hit me.
That would be great if the story takes that direction, like she just starts punching him.
Okay, so I don't want to keep derailing, but I will say, is it not setting it up that she is going to find out about Alina? There is going to be some kind of conflict when
There
they're
will be a
out there
conflict
to
there
where
about
she's going to
them,
like
yes, yeah.
run off or like, dare I say, even leave him or he leaves her.
There
I don't know.
100% will be a problem. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. And also, it's like the only reason he now wants to do this is for Alina.
Yeah, dude.
Right, because Carrie wanted to do it from the beginning, and he's like, it's probably fake. But now he's all in.
Listen, dude. Pussy blinds a man. All right.
Oh, the places I've gone.
the places I just like to imagine you're just like floating through like a portal, like like spinning like in circles.
Just the stupid decision. Looking back in hindsight, being like, why on God's earth was I there?
Horrible.
What was I doing?
Yeah.
What did I think was gonna happen? What kind of that was not a tactical decision at all.
That was not a tactical decision. Well, that backfired.
I think back to like high school when like a girl kind of subtly implied like I should do something. I'm like, yeah, I'll hang off the side of this boulder above like a 400-foot drop.
Sure.
Why not? Or like jumping over that ridge like that. Like, of course. Why? Like places I wouldn't have gone with a gun.
Yeah,
I went for women.
Break into my grandpa's house and steal his gold.
Anything for you, Rebecca.
You have like a Desert Eagle in your hand.
me standing outside of a Bank of America with a rifle, like, okay.
Putting on the Joker mask at the beginning of Dark Knight.
I've got a suicide vest on. Like,
the crazy things I do for love.
If this makes Veronica happy, I can't. Only one of my haunted New England books told the story of the widower's clock. And maybe it was because I'd initially been skeptical that the story was grounded in any sort of reality. But it honestly never occurred to me that there was anything more to know. But if there was a clockmaker, he had to have made clocks. And if there had been a murder, there must be an obituary. Harry disappeared into the basement where the library kept their microfiche?
Microfiche.
What is that? Whatever. I assume it means microfilm.
Probably.
With her gone, I was able to finish researching our paper in short order, and by the time I wandered downstairs, she found out quite a bit. The clockmaker was a German immigrant named Adolf Reifler, born in 1857. He was hired sometime between 1905 and 1907 to construct the clock for the Custom House Tower in Boston by an architect named Robert Swain Peabody.
What are you eating?
In an effort to show up his two brothers, who were also master clockmakers, Reifler attempted to miniaturize several of them. That the only reason I knew about the spire in the woods was because of his suicide notes, and had actually been happy about the whole thing, while two guys who had lost a good friend, quite possibly because of the spire, were sitting right behind me.
Bruh. I don't know. A bit. You want to ride home? I can take both of you.
I really didn't.
Sure.
Carrie said.
Carrie said. I love that. I love that tag in at the end. Carrie said. So sad. So sad.
because I have
Sure.
there's two men and a woman speaking, but I have to
Hell, why
clarify for
not?
the audience that you
Hell.
are speaking of the
Hey, come
female in
on.
the
All right,
equation.
fine. All right, you twisted my leg. Fine. Hell yeah, let's do it. Get out of here.
Now she is neither ugly nor beautiful in my mind. Now she is like what is the Sam Elliott? It's like
She's
Sam
Sam,
Elliott
yeah.
on the other side
I'm a
of the
Marlboro
booth.
man. I'm a Marlboro. Come on, dude. Yeah.
Murph had just found out that he'd been accepted via early admission to UMass Amherst. Topic Scary Carrie found intriguing. Like many unhappy high school students, Carrie hung a lot of her hope on the idea that her life would get better in college. She knew she didn't have the grades to get into a top-tier school. Hell, she knew that UMass Amherst was a real reach, but she had hoped to get into UMass Lowell and transfer after a year or two. Of course, Murph hadn't thought he'd be accepted either.
Definitely apply early. Show them you're serious. And see if you can get a reference from someone who went there. The list where all the teachers went to school in the yearbook each year. Like half of them went to UMass.
Carrie was hanging off Murph's every word, but I wasn't paying much attention to what he was saying. I was too busy hoping against hope that after we dropped Carrie off, Fletch would announce he wanted to hang out with Murph some more and, as such, would have to drop me off next. That didn't happen, and we were soon alone together in the car. The second the door closed behind Murph, Fletch dropped his mask, and I knew that he heard me.
You're going to Quaben? After what I told you? You're going to the Quaben? Yeah. Hold on. All right.
I think you should read that.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I was just making sure. Are you fucking retarded? All right, just making sure. Like, I'm trying to hold the peace here, boys.
You're
Listen,
not
shoot the
saying
messenger.
it. The character in the story is
Don't
saying
shoot
it.
the messenger,
You're reading the
dude.
quote.
Come on,
You,
man.
you have read that this woman Carrie is fat, and you yourself made moo noises earlier. So I think this is the least of your
come
concern.
on, man. What are you trying to do to me here?
Fletch was a pretty big guy. That, coupled with the hurt and anger in his voice, intimidated me into silence. We drove on, listening to nothing but the heater struggling in vain to dispel the cold. After a few miles, I found myself resenting Fletch. Who was he to speak to me like that? And why should I feel guilty for his sake? He had lost a friend and he had my sympathy, but that didn't entitle him to treat me like garbage.
What'd you tell me for?
Fletch didn't answer my question. He just kept driving.
Huh? Why'd you tell me about it if you didn't want me to look into it?
Fletch tightened his grip on the steering wheel and ground his teeth together as if he were literally chewing over the question. We were in our neighborhood before he finally answered.
Who else could I tell? Did you know the school's been contacting parents of everyone who goes to the special counseling sessions? They're reporting any early warning signs they see in the sessions. You think I want my parents making me see somebody or sticking me on meds? I can't go there with a fucking ghost story.
Fletch's anger had left him. By the time we pulled into the driveway, he looked deflated.
I thought you'd believe me. Or could disprove it or shit. I mean, I don't know.
It seemed like both Fletch and Alina were looking to me to absolve their sins. Alina wanted me to prove that Rob had found a spire sticking up from the ground in the middle of the woods, and it was the reason he'd taken his own life. Fletch wanted me to tell him it was just a ghost story. I honestly couldn't say what I believed, but I had to know.
I haven't even told Murph. I just couldn't handle it if he blamed me for letting Rob go on his own. What would you have done if you'd been with him? I don't know.
Fletch wouldn't look me in the eyes.
At least he wouldn't have been alone. Well, you don't have to worry about us. We just want to try to hear the bells. It's not like we're gonna swim out there or anything. Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna let you.
I had no idea how Fletch intended to stop us. It's not like we needed his permission to visit a public park, and I told him as much. Fletch looked at me like I was an idiot.
If you're going, so am I.
I didn't argue. If he felt guilty for letting Rob go looking for the spire in the woods alone, maybe being there with Carrie and me would help him get over it. As Fletch backed out of the driveway, I realized there was another reason I didn't protest. Scary Carrie. Yes, things that day had felt normal again between us, but I was still gun-shy about spending that much time alone with her, especially on the shore of a moonlit lake. And as an added bonus, now we didn't have to worry about getting Ecto-1 for the night. Alina kept her distance at school, especially after I attempted to steal a kiss from her the Wednesday before winter break. I had left class to use the bathroom and bumped into her on my way back. There were these moments, a few minutes here and there, where she seemed like nothing was wrong, where her smile and her laughter would come easily. Walking her back to class that day was one of those moments. The corridor was nearly deserted. Just before we reached the door to her classroom, I stopped her. I slid one hand around. Bro, in school?
Yeah, man. He's trying to. Hey, listen, he wants to hold her hand.
Were you one of those people? Did you kiss girls in school?
Hell no.
I never did it. I never did it in
no.
school. That was way too weird.
I'm too
that was
embarrassed.
Way too strange. I can't say some of them on the podcast, but I had some awful stories of guys and girls just like 2 p.m. middle of economics class.
Oh yeah. Oh dude.
Oh man. Awful times. Just before we reached the door to her classroom, I stopped her. I slid one hand around her slender waist and slipped the other through her hair towards her neck. I leaned in to kiss her and she withdrew from me, from my touch, as if I was on fire. Yeah, man, you're going to 11 on the way back from class. And just like that, the old Alina was gone and the broken one was left in her place. We stood there apologizing to each other, her reassuring me that I had nothing to apologize for, me doing the same, before she finally backed into her classroom and shut the door. I was thankful Thursday was our last day. Winter break couldn't arrive soon enough. By the way, this is the classic rom-com dynamic of like the guy is all about like, oh, the popular girl, the cheerleader, even though that's not Alina, but she's like the stand-in for that. Meanwhile, he has a friend who's actually into him, who he doesn't see as attractive as the other girl. Typical teen comedy setup, yeah.
Well, also too, I like how he's just like, she withdrew from me like I was on fire. When it's like that, I feel like the literal one thing she said was, "Hey, really don't want people talking shit behind me." You know what I mean? And like being all weird with it.
Yeah, I just want to keep everything out of public, especially while people see me this way. He's like, got it.
Sure,
so grab
babe.
your waist in the hallway as you're walking into a class. That's what she meant. Yeah,
Exactly.
I saw Alina twice over the break. Once before Carrie, Fletch and I went to the Quabbin, and once after. Alina's parents had a cabin at the foot of Shawnee Peak in Maine, where they usually spent New Year's Eve. But that year, they decided to go up on the 27th and come back down on the 30th so Alina wouldn't miss her weekly therapy session. The day after Christmas, she came over to our house for dinner. My parents were wonderful. I had warned them about how nervous and anxious she was likely to be. I didn't say a word about the suicide notes or the spire in the woods, but I had told them that Rob had had a crush on her and that Alina wasn't coping well with his death. They couldn't have been more understanding. Ordinarily, my dad would have delighted in teasing anyone I brought home for the first time, but he refrained. Instead, whenever there was a lull in the conversation, he teased my younger brother, who had gotten for Christmas that year, among other things, a Furby, and insisted on bringing it to the dinner table.
Don't let me catch you feeding that thing after midnight.
My brother was too young to catch the reference and looked up, confused.
It's only 6:30.
Okay. All right, you son of a bitch. Go to your room. I like to think that's what he says. Hey, get the hell out of here.
I like the idea that one day, like 15 years from now, we're going to be old. We're going to be sitting around with our kids at a dinner table. And you're going to be like, don't feed that thing after midnight. And your kid's going to be like, huh? And you're just going to beat the brakes off.
You little son of a bitch.
Just right there. No one blinks. Just completely normal. Hunter does this all the time.
Oh, well, it's always midnight somewhere.
My mom, for her part, also resisted her natural instincts. Usually whenever someone came over to my house for the first time, she'd practically interrogate them, stopping just shy of shining a spotlight in their face. This habit of hers had been particularly rough on Scary Carrie, whom my mom was briefly convinced was on drugs.
What do you
After
mean?
dinner, I mean, that's... Shut up. That is a very, like, mom way to view a goth girl in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I bet she does drugs. I bet she does weed.
Yeah, she does weed.
After dinner, my dad suggested that I show Alina the TV that I had gotten for Christmas the day before. The TV that was in my room. He really was a great dad. Now that is a dad.
That's a player move.
That is a player move.
That is a player move.
Hey, son, why don't you show her that TV you got?
Get her up there. Come on, son.
Come on. Get her
What
on
are we
in
doing
there.
here? Come on.
And as soon as you get up there, I'm going to have the staircase taken out.
I really like your family.
Alina said once the door shut behind us. I scoffed.
Believe me, They were on their best behavior.
Drew DeLuca was a firm advocate of the idea that a romantic movie was not the best movie to watch with a girl you wanted to get romantic with. Yeah, it's way too on the nose. For starters, most of them were, in his view, of very crappy movies, and the good ones ran the danger of actually holding a girl's interest. What you wanted was a movie that was pleasant and charming, but light enough that you could miss a good chunk of it without feeling lost and needing to rewind. The sort of movie you'd stumble across while watching TV on a Sunday afternoon, and finish even though it was already midway through. I threw in Maverick. Alina sat on the floor and I followed suit, but not before grabbing a couple of pillows off my bed. Her movements were stiff as she settled down on the pillow. I tried not to appear too eager. As I got down behind her and draped my arm over her waist. What is he describing there?
He's like cuddling up to her. He's like has his hand around her.
Oh, they're spooning.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking she is laid down like away from the TV and he just like slides underneath her.
Slides underneath her.
I was like, what kind of a move is that? Okay, but the spooning, got it. As the movie started, I kept thinking about those fantasies I'd had the night. Gosh, like you said, the story's too real. As the movie started, I kept thinking about those fantasies I'd had the night after our first kiss, about how pleasant it'd be just to lie next to Alina watching TV, just being near her and nothing more. I was right, but actually being beside her, my hand resting lightly against her flat stomach, I found other ideas even more enticing. I pulled myself closer to her, savoring the fragrance that her vanilla-scented shampoo left in her wild hair. My fingers crept slowly, almost imperceptibly, up her toned body. Alina stopped my hand.
Do your parents ever come up here?
She whispered.
No, we're alone. Actually, would you mind if we just watch this? I haven't seen it before. Oh, no, that's cool.
Destroyed. Decimated. Fatality. The war room right now losing their minds like, get him out of there. It's
yeah, run.
We need evac.
See, that's why if you're ever trying to do a little Netflix and chill, always put on a World War II documentary. Every time, no interest in watching that shit. I'm telling you.
That was my move. It was to put on a war movie or an action film that I knew for a fact.
You carefully put on Hamburger Hill.
No.
What?
Never that. You got to be subtle. No. Nothing that's like she looks up and she sees a man holding his guts, crying for his mom. Nothing that intense.
Mom.
Yeah. Nothing that, or nothing too loud either. The trick is you got to turn on a movie that you're like, oh, it's great. People talk about it all the time. It's a classic, but you know she's not going to care for it. Like a Taken, or like I'm trying to think of old war, or like Band of Brothers or something, right?
Right.
Like it's good and she's heard of it, but she's going to lose interest and she is going to be looking for anything else to do. So it'd be like, well, I guess if you don't want to watch the movie, I guess something else.
You heard it here first, ladies.
Okay, what was your move? What did you do?
I put on Green Mile. The first time I was ever intimate with a woman, I'm not going to go into grab the detail.
Are you serious?
The first time I was ever intimate with a woman, it was when John Coffey was getting electrocuted.
First time you ever like had a moment just over the shoulder. It's like, literally, I'm tired, boss.
No, it was literally keep the lights on. I'm afraid of the dark.
The scene where he's being executed.
So now I have a very odd relationship with that movie. Dude, it's cool. It's cool.
So actually, since you disclosed that, one of my first, not like first kiss levels, but like one of the first intimate times I remember was Children of the Corn was on.
Okay. Little Children of the Corn action. Damien in the background. I don't like grown-ups.
Yeah, so it's very similarly, I have very mixed feelings about that film.
Sure.
Now, like, because I remember being like super engaged in one thing, and then like it catches my attention for a second. It's like
You're
the kids screaming through town. It's like, okay, well, maybe I just turn away from that. Like, that's funny. Anyway, this is a really good story because every single part reminds
I'm
me
having
of something.
PTSD.
It's like, oh, yeah.
I understand what it's like finally for a Vietnam vet. That's how I feel.
This is your stolen valor, Hunter.
This
It's
is
real
literally
now.
my stolen valor moment. Yeah.
Okay, so she just shot him down. Said that's, and he's like, oh, that's cool. I said, mentally cursing the day DeLuca had been born. I spent the next hour knowing the agony of a man without any fresh water, stuck on a life raft adrift at sea. After the movie, my luck didn't improve much. The credits began to roll, and I had it in my head that Alina might feel more comfortable expressing her affection for me if she felt like she was in control. Oh, gosh. I kissed her neck where it met... I kissed her neck where it met her jaw and pulled her lithe little body on top of mine. Oh, my gosh.
Good man.
Uh,
Oh, yay.
This is insane to read. This is
I know.
insane to have this voice
you're
clip
a
of
fully
me
grown
out
man.
there on the internet. Yeah. The pressure of her weight pressing down on me was an excruciating pleasure. My eyes rolled back in my head. Conscious thought melted away.
This is exactly those books that are that you see in Barnes and Noble, like the erotic fantasy books, whatever. This is what this feels like. This is what the girlies like, dude. All of our girl fans are gonna love this shit.
I mean, probably, but doesn't mean I do.
He did what? Oh, damn, that's hot. That's all the girls are saying. All the girl fans of Creepcast sounding like, oh man, that's great.
Yeah, all 5 of them.
Yeah, yeah, all 5.
all 7 women who tune into this podcast. 6 excluding your wife, because mine doesn't listen to it. My fingers found their way to the bare skin of her lower back.
Yeah,
I could feel the slight bumps of her vertebrae raising up her skin. It was oddly intoxicating.
It does have a bit of a serial killer vibe, doesn't it? Just like a little bit.
The next line is, when had I become attracted to spines?
Too true.
Put her there, bro. Yeah, it goes from me and you being like, oh yeah, get in there, bud. Woo! To like, wait, hold on. You what? I brushed my cheek against hers and angled my face so our mouths aligned. Her lips parted tentatively. I listened for the subtle changes in her breathing that would tell me when it'd be safe to make the next move. Her breathing deepened. I slid my hands up her back, all the way to her satiny bra strap. I had never touched a bra before in my life and had only a vague idea of how to guide the hooks from the eyes. I nibbled her ear as my fingers fumbling beneath Alina's shirt. And that's when I felt that she was crying.
Oh,
my
God.
No. Get him out of there.
Oh, no.
Man down, get him out. Send a helicopter.
Hey, it's okay, look.
I whispered while pulling my hands out of her shirt.
See?
Oh, I'm cold. I've got chills everywhere. Oh my gosh. She sniffled and turned her head away from me. I was so scared. I knew I couldn't be too eager with her. I knew I couldn't press her too hard. She was in a fragile state, and there I was thinking with anything but my head. My only defense was that I just wanted to make her feel good. That is the most 16-year-old justification.
Yeah,
I've ever
no
heard.
shit.
I thought since she liked me, she'd like my touch as much as I craved hers.
Oh,
But
man.
I'd thought wrong on many levels. I gently pushed her chin up to look her in the eyes.
I didn't mean to push you too fast. You okay?
She nodded, and I held her until she pushed herself up off me. Yeah, you were really, I won't say bear trap necessarily, but you were right earlier when you were talking about the similarities between him and Rob. Like, how Rob only saw, like, he thought he knew her, but didn't really know her. And now we kind of see that with our main character where he's like, oh, I thought she liked me, but we really haven't had any indication of that. She just wants someone to be a comfort, to comfort her in this time. And she's putting up with your sexual advances because you're one of the only people who will talk to her about the stuff and she feels comfortable around. And you're kind of taking advantage of that so that, you can speak to her because that's what you want out of it, even though she just wants some company out of it.
Yeah,
She doesn't necessarily like you.
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing is that I don't know. It's like the parallels are just so there, and I think to a point too, to where I'm wondering, does he follow down the same kind of like slippery slope as Rob did with this Spire in the Woods thing? Like how much does this obsession with the Spire in the Woods keep unraveling to him? Or to prove his love or whatever. I don't know.
It wouldn't be out of nowhere. It is kind of setting up that direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Alina paced around my room doing a breathing exercise her therapist had taught her. I went downstairs to grab us a couple glasses of water. It was less than the least I could do. While I was in the kitchen, my dad gave me a questioning look and a thumbs up behind my mother's back.
Good man.
I shook my head no and felt like a failure. Once she was calm enough to sit down, we sat on my bed, far apart from one another, sipping the water and talking.
It's not you. Yeah, don't worry about it. I know you like me.
Bro. Dude. Oh my gosh. Alina gave a little nod as she stared down at her water like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, This will pass. People at school will move on to something else and leave you alone, and you can get back to normal. God, what a king.
I mean, you can make out and go to movies.
What
and
a
make
king.
out.
Yeah, you can finally get back to not being such a freak.
You can get back to not being a loser.
Yeah, loser.
Alina got up and started pacing again.
My parents don't even think I can skip a session for New Year's. How's that for normal? I hate that we're not going to be up at Shawnee's for New Year's.
She put the glass down on my desk, her hands as fidgety as her legs.
Every year, we go skiing in the morning and then drive into the North Conway to have dinner and watch the fireworks until my mom gets too cold and wants to head back. That's all I want, and I can't even handle that. What if I found something down at the Quabbin?
What if I fix this, Alina? What if all your problems I
Baby,
can take care of?
baby. Let
Baby
me
girl,
handle this, all right?
Have you ever heard of the Quabbin?
Baby, have you ever heard the Quabbin before? Come on.
Come on, baby girl. Why don't you get back on top of me and I'll turn Hamburger Hill back on?
Medic! Medic!
Just the idea of like teenage making out, and this in the background, it's like, I can't find my legs.
Yeah.
I don't know where my legs are.
I can't find my legs.
Oh, Mama, where's my legs? Mama, help! It's like just gently, just like he doesn't know how to kiss her, so he's just like licking her lips over and over. Oh my gosh, my mom, help! It's also that scene in Hamburger Hill where he's talking about how he went home from war and like he found his wife cheating on him, and they were making fun. The hippies were throwing like dog poop at him, and he's like, and that was all right, and that was all right. Like that very impactful scene.
Yeah.
And he's just like fondling with a bra he's never touched before, trying to take it apart. Alina stopped, practically mid-step, and stared at me. I hadn't noticed until just then, but she had bags under her eyes.
Will that help? When are you going? Tomorrow.
Alina stared at me. The energy in the room had changed. I could practically smell her desperation as easily as her vanilla-scented shampoo. She needed me to find the Spire in the Woods and prove that it was the widower's clock. Prove that Rob hadn't killed himself because she broke his heart, but because he'd been haunted by the ghost of Amy Lowell Putnam. And if Alina Aminov needed it, so did I. To hell with Fletch. To hell with just hearing the bells. I was going to find the Spire.
Okay, into part 4, into part 5.
Places I wouldn't go with a gun.
Places I wouldn't go.
Yeah, that's my boy. That's your boy, all right.
That's my boy.
So I do want to say that like we've been joking about it going on. I feel every one of these characters is so well thought out.
Yeah.
They feel legitimate. I want to see them succeed. There's this interesting dynamic which our author kind of highlighted where it's like he's going to the Spire in the Woods, but for opposite reasons, because Alina needs him to prove that the Spire's real, and Fletch needs him to prove that the Spire's fake.
Right.
And it's like obviously his loyalty lies more with Alina because he's horny, but it creates this interesting kind of this conflict with himself. And it's neither like Fletch and Alina are both understandable, but they're also not necessarily in the right, either of them, because Alina's like, well, I need to prove that it's not my fault and that he was possessed by some ghost thing. And it's like, well, that's kind of, it seems like a lot on this.
Huh?
And then meanwhile, Fletch is like, I need to prove my friend's not crazy and that stupid chick did it. And it's like, well, that's also like selfish.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's probably not the
a
best
lot
way
of
to
the
think about
onus
that.
comes back on your friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting position. It's a very unique dynamic to have
I like
in a story
Fletch.
like this.
I like Fletch a lot.
Yeah.
I think he's going
Yeah,
to be
he
a pretty
seems to be
important
one of the
character.
more legitimate actors, I
Yeah.
think, and everything's going down. Because he's just reacting off emotions for a friend of his that died.
It's true.
It doesn't really have any ulterior motives like some people do. And Carrie, I like Carrie. I feel like she's just got dealt a bad hand. But she seems loyal. She seems like a good friend, I think. Okay. Part 5. Are you ready, Hunter?
Part 5. What's with the bag?
Fletch asked as I tossed my duffel bag onto the back seat and got inside the car. If memory serves, it had been 25 or so that day. It felt even colder in that little Civic.
Supplies, incense, my mom's Bible, a couple flashlights, some miscellaneous crap I borrowed from Carrie.
Fletch acknowledged he heard me with a soft grunt. We were on our way to pick up Scary Carrie. I'll also say, I know we keep diverging the story, or I do, to talk, but that's what the podcast is for, I guess. I like that little mention where he's like, if memory serves, it was 25 that day. So that tells us immediately that what happened on this day was important enough that years later writing the story, he remembers what the temperature was.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what's about to happen? Just a neat little like storytelling technique to pull out.
That's true.
Truth be told, while the bag did have my mother's Bible and the flashlights, the miscellaneous crap I borrowed from Carrie was actually a bicycle pump and a pool raft shaped like a small boat that I'd borrowed from Christy McDowell earlier that day. I didn't see the sense in telling Fletch yet that I wanted to do more than just hear the bells. At least not while we were still in my driveway and he could back out. Better to wait until we were down there, and the worst he could do was leave us without a ride home.
Oh, you dumb son of a bitch. This is the pivoting point, dude. I'm telling you. Him not telling Fletch to. I'm just saying, like that's just it's no bueno.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We grabbed Carrie and we're probably on our way shortly after 8 o'clock. For the first hour or so, the drive was surprisingly pleasant. Carrie asked Fletch questions about where he was hoping to go to college, which schools were his safeties, and how he was going to pay for it. Fletch answered all of her questions and was even joking around a bit, but as we got deeper into Massachusetts, his nerves started to creep in. He fell silent around the time we cleared Worcester. It didn't take a mind reader to know he was thinking about Rob. It was impossible not to. We were retracing the steps of a boy who had killed himself. Whatever he'd found down there, whether it was supernatural or not, whether it was something or nothing, Rob had blamed it for driving him to madness and death. I'd never been scared on any of my other ghost hunting trips. Not really. Usually I was filled with a sense of anticipation, a giddy feeling that I could soon make a discovery that would forever change the way I saw the whole world, accompanied by a touch of anxiety that I might get caught trespassing.
Trespassing.
That I might get caught trespassing somewhere I didn't belong. But as we pulled into the trailer park, my heart was pounding in my chest and my palms were covered in a cold sweat.
10:30.
Neither following directly behind me so as to spread our weight across a broader area. We pressed on. The conversation died. The wind blew hard across the reservoir and tore through our clothes like a knife. We didn't care. The sound was growing fainter. We had crossed nearly 3/4 of the distance to the island that housed the spire. I never heard the ice crack, just the sharp inhalation of breath or a scream that never escaped her lips. Carrie plunged through the ice. I turned just in time to see her head go under. Carrie came up thrashing, but as she hit the sides of the hole she'd made, more and more of the ice broke away, expanding the hole to the size of a kiddie pool. I shuffled my feet as fast as I could towards the edge. Fletch screamed for me to stop.
No, it's not stable.
Cold water sucks the heat from your body 32 times faster than air. Every second Carrie stayed in that water increased the likelihood her arms and legs would go numb, and she wouldn't be able to pull herself out of the water even if the ice stopped breaking. Laying on my stomach to spread as much of my weight across the surface as I could, I dragged myself over to the water's edge.
Grab on!
I held onto the shoulder strap and tossed my duffel bag into the water as close to Carrie as I could. Her hands fumbled, already rendered useless from the heat loss, but she managed to wrap her arms tight around the bulk of the bag. I pulled her up to the edge. She got most of her body out of the water before the ice cracked, and she fell back in, almost taking me with her. Strong hands grabbed my ankles and pulled me away from the hole.
Fuck!
Fletch grunted as he struggled for traction on the ice. I don't know how he did it, but Fletch managed to get enough of a purchase that we were able to drag Carrie out of the water.
Oh, thank God.
Scary, I was getting worried there. Scary Carrie was white as a bone and panting for breath through
I
chattering
can't
teeth.
trace this.
She struggled to get to her hands and knees.
We've got to get her out of here.
Fletch said. The pull of the bells had been broken. What had we been
Yeah,
thinking?
buddy.
Bring the car around. We'll meet you.
The car was easily 2 miles away. Fletch nodded and was off, shuffling his feet across the ice as quickly as he could. I was afraid to stand too close to Carrie out on the ice, but what choice did I have? She was still struggling just to crawl. I grabbed her by her ankles and dragged her across until we were far enough away from the hole that I felt comfortable enough to pull her to her feet. Still, the ice went. As I watched Fletch slip out of sight behind the trees, it didn't sound gentle anymore. I put her arm over my shoulder. We shuffled along best we could. Each time one of us slipped, I thought the ice had given out again. My heart would race and I'd think.
This is it. This is how I'm gonna die.
Pretty
But
bad.
instead, we would just be slammed down against the rock-hard surface. Carrie followed my instructions. She didn't seem confused, but she wasn't talking either. By the time we reached the access road, her lips had turned pale blue and the water in her hair had frozen. At the fork on Old Ware Infield Road, I insisted that we trade jackets and I gave her my hat and gloves, one of which was wet from pulling her out of the water, but I figured it was better than nothing. Carrie fumbled and struggled to get out of her jacket. We had to stop walking so I could help her with the zipper. She fought me as I tried to get my hat over her enormous head and with slurred speech complained that she was hot. I knew what that meant. Carrie was in trouble. If I had had a cell phone back then, I'd have bitten the bullet and called her an ambulance, but I didn't get my first cell phone until 2001. I made Carrie run the rest of the way, even though she moved like a drunk in an old cartoon. Fletch saw us approaching the gate and, leaving the engine running, ran out to meet us.
How is she?
He asked, putting her arm over his shoulder.
We need to get her to a hospital.
Fletch and I were moving as quick as we could while dragging Carrie along between us.
Do you know anything around here? You don't know where the hospital is?
I screamed as we got into the car.
Why the fuck would I know where the nearest hospital is in Western Massachusetts?
Fletch put the car in drive and started heading towards Amherst, figuring they'd have a hospital there and we'd see signs for it on Route 9. Had we gone the other way, back towards the Shaw, we'd have been at a hospital in 11 minutes. Fortunately, the way we chose, the nearest hospital was in Northampton, over an hour away.
Oh, God.
Even with the heat on full blast, the car was freezing. Practically as soon as the doors closed, Carrie started stripping out of her clothes.
You gotta get back there with her.
He was right. Before our week-long winter hike, our instructor chaperones taught us what to do in the event that someone displayed any signs of hypothermia. You get them out of their wet clothes, you strip down, and you get into a sleeping bag with them. It's called passive rewarming, and Carrie clearly needed it. Crawled over the emergency brake into the back seat with the half-naked, scary Carrie. She didn't fight me or complain about being warm, but it was difficult to get close to her. She had wedged herself down on the floor, mostly behind the passenger seat, a space I would have never imagined could accommodate me, let alone both of us.
You got a blanket back here or anything?
I said, looking around in the mess of clutter that Carrie sat on top of.
No, but hang on.
Fletch wrestled himself out of his jacket while he drove. It occurred to me that I could use the uninflated raft as a blanket, but when I looked for my duffel bag, I realized I must have dropped it somewhere between the reservoir and the car.
Very good.
Fletch threw his jacket back to me. It'd have to do. I stripped down to my underwear. Scary Carrie was completely unresponsive. I did my best to move her into a position where I could lay next to her, draped Fletch's jacket over my shoulders and mine over our legs before spreading myself across her corpulent belly. crazy word. I'd like to say I spent the next hour concerned only for the well-being of my friend, but that's not true. A million thoughts ran through my head. Yes, I did think about Carrie. I thought she already looked dead and hoped that at least some of her pale complexion was just the moonlight. I noticed how slow her breathing was. I could barely feel her cold gut moving at all. But I also thought about Rob and the rumor I repeated when I was in the 6th grade. The one about how he'd been found naked in the woods with a mentally handicapped girl. I thought about how everyone said he tricked her into sleeping with him. And even as my friend lay beneath me, for all I knew dying, there's a small part of me that was thankful we were so far away from home and nobody would hear about this. Shortly before 1:30 in the morning, we pulled up in front of the emergency room at Cooley-Dixon Hospital. Fletch got out of the car and ran for help. Carrie was unconscious when a pair of nurses or orderlies or whatever they were pulled her out of the car and put her on a stretcher. When they asked me, I couldn't remember the last time I checked to see if she was still breathing. It had been a few minutes, at least. They couldn't find a pulse.
No!
Fletch and I were forced to stay in the waiting room. We couldn't do anything else for her. Carrie was in their hands now. In a way, that was worse, at least for us. When we were in the car, we had a goal, something to focus on. We had to get Carrie to a hospital. Once we'd arrived, the adrenaline that had been coursing through our veins returned to whence it came and left us with nothing but doubts. Could we have done more? Had we been fast enough?
She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
Fletch rocked back and forth in his chair, repeating his little mantra as if he could will it to be so.
She'll be fine. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
It was over an hour before we were able to get an update. Carrie had survived.
Oh, thank God. Good God, dude. I wasn't ready for that.
Oh, that was so rough. Okay. When they initially checked her vitals, Carrie's core temperature had fallen to 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and her heart rate had slowed to 29 beats per minute. For a girl Carrie's age and size, you'd expect her resting heart rate to be in the neighborhood of 74 beats per minute. The emergency room doctor felt Carrie's hypothermia was too severe for external warming techniques and elected to irrigate Carrie's stomach and colon with warm saline solution. Every 15 minutes, the saline, by then cold, had to be pumped out and replaced with more warm saline. We had hoped we'd be able to see her, but at that point, they'd only managed to raise her body temperature about 4 degrees. Carrie was still unconscious. She also had 3rd or 4th degree frostbite on several of her fingers and toes and one of her ankles, but they wouldn't have to worry about that tonight. There's a saying about frostbite: frozen in January, amputated in July. The nurse, a young, homely woman, looked at us like we were criminals. I guess she blamed us for the state Carrie was in. Even now, I'm not sure she was wrong.
Is there someone your friend would want us to contact?
Her mom.
Yeah. I'll do it. Payphone? Follow me.
The nurse turned and led me back to the admittance desk. It's funny. As scared as I was that my friend's life was still in serious jeopardy, somehow I was also scared to be in trouble with her mom. And by extension, mine. What can I say? I lacked perspective, and the enormity of the situation hadn't fully sunk in. The nurse let me use one of the hospital phones.
What? What do you want? Why are you calling my house at 3 fucking o'clock in the morning?
Mrs. Peterson screamed into the phone.
Carrie's been in an accident.
What are you talking about? Carrie's asleep. She's... Hold on. Carrie! Carrie!
I could hear Mrs. Peterson lumbering through her house and bellowing for her daughter. She certainly had her faults, but lacking affection for her daughter wasn't one of them. I'd often suspected that Mrs. Peterson had been one of those sad sacks who had known their marriage wasn't going to last and insisted on having a kid anyway. Not to save the marriage, but just to have one person in the world that loved them unconditionally.
What happened? Where is she?
That is such a depressing paragraph.
I know, dude.
Oh,
God.
I'm getting beat. I'm having I said I had Baraska flashbacks earlier. I'm having them right now because I'm getting sad. Because I'm getting all I told her was that her daughter had fallen through some ice. Nothing else. It emphasized at every turn that she was alive and being cared for, which was true, but I also promised that she'd be fine. It was a promise I had no business making. I just couldn't stomach hearing the hurt in her voice. I would have said anything to make Mrs. Peterson feel better. I handed the phone back to the homely nurse so that she could give Mrs. Peterson directions to the hospital. 2.5 hours later, Ecto 1's tire screeched to stop in the parking lot.
My daughter, where is she?
I could hear her even before she was through the doors. If the kids at school thought Carrie was frightening to behold, it was only because they'd never seen her mother upset. Mrs. Peterson ran up to the admittance desk wearing her jacket over her bathrobe, the sweatpants she slept in peeking out over her snow boots. Her face was red and puffy from crying, and her hair looked not just uncombed, but as if someone had tied it in knots and then dipped it in grease. By comparison, the homely nurse looked like Helen of Troy.
She's my daughter. You have to let me see her.
Mrs. Peterson said, pounding the desk in front of her. Being a mother was the reason Mrs. Peterson got out of bed in the morning. It was the reason she worked a thankless, poorly paying job. And it was the reason she wasn't about to let anyone keep her from being there for her daughter. Fletch and I jogged the short distance down the hall from the waiting room. The hospital staff was looking nervously at Mrs. Peterson's red face and bulging veins. A pair of nurses moved in close behind the homely nurse to support her.
You can't see her until she's been stabilized.
The nurse said, her voice quivering. Mrs. Peterson let out an inarticulate scream that shook her whole body. It was a desperate noise that sounded like a wounded animal. The homely nurse flinched. Fletch took an involuntary step back, and one of the other nurses peeled off from the pack and ran down the hall, probably to get security. She needn't have bothered. After her scream, Mrs. Peterson collapsed to the floor in tears. I laid my hand on her shoulder and gave her a gentle shake. Mrs. Peterson looked up and saw that it was me. I thought for a moment I'd received the same treatment as the nurses. Instead, she pulled me down on top of her and hugged me, clinging to me like I was life itself. Mrs. Peterson buried her face in my shoulder and cried. I wish she had yelled at me, and not just because my face was pressed into her hair, which smelled of sweet, deli meats, and feta cheese. I'd nearly gotten her daughter killed. I didn't deserve to be embraced like a member of the family. And something about the way Mrs. Peterson so desperately held me reminded me of the trip her daughter and I had taken to Greenfield. I'd been reckless with Carrie in so many ways. I really like that last line. Because there's so much there, like when he was in the back of the car with her, and I didn't comment on it then, but when he made the comment about I remember I used to spread that rumor about Rob hooking up with the disabled girl. And it's like, it's not, when he mentions it, it's not just like, oh, haha, that was funny. I'm glad no one sees me here. It's like he's having this grown up moment where he's like, I guess like just because of appearances, I shouldn't think of someone else like that or shouldn't spread rumors about it. And now the things he normally would care about, like her hair's greasy or she smells bad, it doesn't matter because, you know, what he really feels is unworthiness that a mother would give him this kind of grief. And now he relates that back and says, I've been reckless with Carrie in so many ways. Which, yeah, it's like he's growing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a character. And, you know, I think death or near death will do that to a character. And I think in this way, I think he's getting a real point where I think that story is something that's face value. It's like you don't really know what people are going through in that moment. It's like spreading these false rumors and stuff, and like the things that people could make out of this situation. That's a horrible situation. Who knows? And now Carrie has been basically just this person he's been stringing along. And I mean, abusing is not the right word, but just stringing along and just kind of like recklessly befriending and kind of treating in that way. And I think that these kind of situations put it into perspective.
Yeah, I've been reckless with Carrie in so many ways. It's a very grown-up line at this point in the story, yeah. Fletch helped the two of us to our feet, and we led Mrs. Peterson back to the waiting room. We stopped at McDonald's on the way home, but neither of us could bring ourselves to eat anything. Fletch and I had stayed at the hospital until nearly 10 a.m. By that time, Carrie's temperature had returned to normal, but at no point had she regained consciousness. We would have stayed longer, but we'd been awake for nearly 24 hours at that point, and our bodies were beginning to shut down. I left Mrs. Peterson my parents' number and told her to call me if she needed anything. She took it and thanked me for watching over her little girl. Aw. Dang, dude. That's so... Oh, gosh. Sitting beneath the fluorescent lights, waiting for Fletch to finish his coffee, I felt like Judas minus the silver. I should have stayed at the hospital, but I copped out. I couldn't stand Mrs. Peterson being nice to me.
I should have never brought you.
It was the first thing Fletch had said in hours.
We'd have gone anyway.
I said, smearing ketchup around my tray with my hash browns so I wouldn't have to look him in the eyes.
We'd have gone, she'd have fallen, and you wouldn't have been there to pull her out. I could have driven, or I could have tried to warm her, but I couldn't have done both.
Fletch didn't respond. I guess he still felt like it was his fault.
She'd be dead right now, Fletch. Me too, probably.
I hazarded a glance up and wished I hadn't. He was giving me the same look I'd given Mrs. Peterson an hour earlier when she thanked me for watching over Carrie. Neither of us were ready to be forgiven yet.
Well, we should have left after we heard those fucking bells.
I couldn't argue with him there. Fletch finished his coffee in silence. After he was done, neither of us moved to get up. It was probably around 10:30 or so at that point, and neither of us had called our parents. We knew we should have found the nearest payphone. We knew we couldn't hide what had happened. Couldn't lie, at least not about Carrie. But even if it was only for a couple hours, we wanted to push the eventuality off for as long as possible. Our parents would know soon enough. We got back in the car and rolled down the windows, hoping the cold air would help keep Fletch awake long enough for the coffee to kick in. Fletch stopped for the light at the intersection of Amherst Road and the Daniel Shays Highway. We needed to go left, which would take us north towards New Hampshire. Fletch hadn't hit his blinker yet.
Can I tell you something?
Fletch had struggled to get out each word.
Yeah? A part of me wants to go
Another-
back. I want to hear them again.
So did I. All we'd have to do is go right.
Do you... If we did, do you think we could get there by 11?
The light changed. We didn't move until the car behind us started honking. Fletch hit the blinker. We went left. My cheeks burned with shame.
We probably wouldn't have made it in time. We can't go back there. Not ever. No, never.
But even as I said it, I knew I would. The bells felt like home.
Yeah. Into part 5, going into part 6. So
what a banger!
So
oh
it
my
seems
gosh!
Like, it seems like what's
This
going to
is
end up
so good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like what's going to end up happening is I feel like each one of them is they're going to go there by themselves like idiots, and they're going to get themselves in trouble. Or he's going to be like, oh, so I went to go see Fletch. You know, I'm going to go see Fletcher, but he was gone. And now it's going to be like, oh, okay, well, he probably fucking went there. You know, it's going to be, it's just justifying the shit that you know you shouldn't do. Well, he's gone, so I feel like we should probably go try to look for him. But in there, you know, it's going to be I feel like it's going to be somebody's going to go there alone and they're going to try to go looking for him.
Yeah, I think they're going to go back at some point. Man, it's so good to have all of that intensity around Carrie and all of that like trauma that happened, and then them being like, we could hear the bells again. Like, that's how enticing they are. That's the grip they have over this group of guys.
The only positive thing that came out of Carrie almost dying is that maybe she'll be incapacitated to not go.
Yeah, I don't think Carrie will go back. I think that Fletch and our author will.
For sure.
Potentially, I think what may happen is he tells Alina and she wants to go.
And she's going to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some kind of closure or something like that. You know what I mean?
Man, is this story not so good?
It's wonderful.
This is great. All right, well, part 6.
Part 6.
My parents woke up on the morning of December 28th, 1999 to a quiet house. Nothing unusual about that. They were typically the first ones up. My mother made coffee and my father turned on CNN and got on the treadmill. My brother woke up next and my mother made him French toast. She made some for me as well, figuring I could reheat it whenever I came down. It was a couple of hours before my absence was felt. No big deal. They figured it was vacation. They might as well let me sleep in. Then around 11 o'clock, they got a call from Mr. Fletcher. He was in a bad mood.
Did Nathan stay over at your house last night?
I don't think so.
Well, if he did, wake his ass up and tell him he's in trouble.
My mom covered the receiver with her hand and hollered for my dad to go wake me up. That's when they found out I was missing. Fletch and I showed up in the driveway 2 hours later. I'd say my parents were more annoyed than angry. My parents weren't strict disciplinarians. I'd slept over at Drew DeLuca's without consulting them on more than one occasion, and while they were never exactly thrilled with me, they trusted my judgment and preferred letting me
Hey, what's
exercise
up?
that judgment to being woken up by a late-night phone call looking for their permission. When they found my bed empty, they had figured we'd stay up late playing video games or, at worst, watching Skinamax movies over at some friends or another's, and were just too tired to drive home. Fletch's parents weren't so understanding. They'd called everyone Fletch was friends with, then called my parents looking for the names of my friends.
Nathan, you better get your butt home.
My dad said. Then he held his thumb and forefinger up about an inch apart and added,
Your dad sounds like he's about this close to going through the phone book in an alphabetical order looking for you.
He was trying to be funny, but Fletch and I weren't in much of a mood to laugh. We exchanged one last tired look, both knowing things were going to get worse before they got any better, and parted ways. I stood on the front steps of my house with my father watching Fletch drive off down the road.
Boy, am I glad I'm not him right now.
He didn't know the half of it.
Dad, I have to tell you something.
They didn't yell and they didn't scream, but the days of my parents trusting my judgment were over. I'd stayed out all night without permission, driven deep into another state, and gone out onto unfamiliar, recently frozen ice in the middle of the night.
That was stupid. That was so stupid.
My father got up from the table and headed for the phone. He'd never been good at sitting still when he was agitated.
Why were you even in Amherst?
My mother asked.
We wanted to visit Sam.
I mumbled. I'd never been a particularly good liar, but Fletch and I had agreed to leave Rob's suicide notes and the spire in the woods out of our story. Fletch was convinced that if Dad caught even the faintest whiff that his son believed in ghost stories, he'd be stuck on meds as fast as the nearest psychiatrist could write the prescription. My mom stared straight at me. I couldn't hold her gaze and pretend to be interested in the French toast she'd reheated for me.
That could have been you. Do you understand?
That
That could have been you that fell through the ice. And with no one around.
My mom was too choked up to finish her thought. I wanted to comfort her, but I didn't want her to look at me.
Yes. You have a patient there named Carrie.
My dad stuck the phone under his chin and asked,
What's Carrie's last name?
While my dad was concerned for Carrie, he was also motivated by self-interest. I could hear it in his voice. He had spent the first 10 years of his career working in litigation at the law firm of Ropes and Gray and believed in the importance of CYA, covering your ass. It didn't matter how slim the chances were that Mrs. Peterson would attempt to hold our family or the Fletchers accountable for what happened to her daughter. That risk was unacceptable.
If you need any help,
He said once he got Mrs. Peterson on the phone.
you know, around the house, driving Carrie to school.
He was feeling her out, trying to get a sense of whether or not Mrs. Peterson blamed us for what had happened to her daughter.
Maybe dealing with the insurance company or, hell, I don't know. If you need a little help with the medical bills. Whatever you need, just say the word.
He also wanted to dangle the carrot. He knew Mrs. Peterson wouldn't be able to cover Carrie's emergency medical care out of pocket, and he doubted slicing the meat at the deli counter in Market Basket conferred with it amazing health insurance. Mrs. Peterson would need help, but it would come with strings attached. Looking back at my father's actions, they seemed cold, and maybe they were, but isn't protecting their kids what good fathers do? Don't they protect their children even when their children don't particularly want to be protected? And Mrs. Peterson, a vengeful bone in her body, I'd have deserved the brunt of everything she could muster. Despite my exhaustion, I had trouble falling asleep. I kept thinking about Carrie. She was in the hospital and it was my fault. I didn't talk her into anything, but I had involved her. I brought her along and now she was the one lying in a hospital bed with her mother crying over her. As a Catholic, you're taught that God created us as rational beings. You're taught that He gave us the dignity to initiate and control our own actions, that He imbued us with the ability to hold our own counsel so that we may choose our own paths, and that we alone are responsible for the fruit that our choices bear. I didn't believe that everything was part of a plan, and the people that did, the people who saw God's hand in every mundane earthly event, from athletes who credit Jesus for their ability to hit a curveball, to teenagers invoking the name of the Lord to secure a date on Saturday night, drove me crazy. I never accepted predestination. How could we have free will if, like clockwork, everything was preordained to happen? I believed these things. I did. But lying there thinking of the Petersons, I couldn't stop myself from wondering if God was teaching me a lesson. I'd been taught that God doesn't cause car accidents or tornadoes, but in that moment, I felt that God had broken the ice beneath Carrie's feet to punish me for both doubting his existence and having stolen a glimpse of the secret knowledge no one but God was meant to have. I cried and whispered Hail Marys and Our Fathers to myself until I was finally overtaken by exhaustion. Dim light filtered in through my blinds. The windows in my room faced south, and in my semi-conscious state, I wasn't sure if the sun was rising or setting. My stomach growled, but I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed and face my parents. The bells tolled.
Yep, here it comes.
Here it goes. It found him.
He's gonna be. It's just the. It's like it's a weird thing being ridden with guilt, with the things happening, and being torn even in this test of faith through the whole time, but yet still in all this haze, the only thing that rings true was the bells chime.
The bells. That's the only thing he's sure of right now.
Yeah.
I sat bolt upright in my bed. The room was still and silent, and yet I could hear the bells as they continued to call out the hour. 2, 3. They were beautiful, but I didn't lose myself in them as I had on the shore of the Quabbin. 4. Sounded like a song stuck in your head. 5. He stopped. I was still lying in bed. Either I never sat up or had lain back down without realizing it. Had I heard them, or had I remembered them? At the reservoir, we'd heard them toll 11. Had it just been a dream? I sat up for what may have been the second time and looked at my clock. It was 5. In the past 2 days, I'd only slept for 3 hours, but I couldn't handle being alone in the dark. I went downstairs and spent the rest of the night studiously avoiding eye contact with my family. Thankfully, I didn't hear the bells again that night. The next morning, bright and early, my father drove me over to Carrie's house. My parents had put together a care package for Mrs. Peterson, a large basket filled with food so she wouldn't have to cook, gift cards from our local gas station to offset the back and forth to the hospital each day, and a few books to read in the waiting room. When she opened the door, Mrs. Peterson was so grateful that she cried. Once she regained her composure, the two of us got into Ecto 1 and headed out on a 2.5-hour drive to Cooley-Dixon Hospital. My dad had volunteered me to go and keep Mrs. Peterson company. He may have had an ulterior motive, but this was something I wanted to do, something I had to do. The drive was awkward. Under the best of circumstances, as a teenager, spending time alone with one of your friend's parents was always a little uncomfortable, and these were far from the best of circumstances. As I learned on the drive, Carrie was in a coma.
My God.
Although Mrs. Peterson got virtually none of the medical terms correct, her only...
I love that.
Come on, dude.
I love
Give
that.
her a break.
I love that guy. That little pop shot he threw in there. Yeah, even though she basically got it all fucking wrong.
Every single description he gives of Mrs. Peterson, he's like, her hair smelled like feta cheese. And she was so oily and nasty. It's like,
What a gross
anyway,
woman.
then she cried over her daughter who's in a
Oh
coma
my
due
God.
to
She's
my
sleeping
actions.
or something.
Couldn't get any of the words right. Probably can't even pay for this. Like, brutal.
Thank God my dad gave her a gas card.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that Shell Station visa, she probably may not even know where her daughter's at. They could move her, she'd never know. Probably can't afford a phone bill either. It's like, gosh, kid.
Yeah, goddamn,
down.
dude. Jeez.
Her only real exposure to medicine came from having watched a lot of ER. Okay. I managed to get the gist of what she was saying. As Carrie's heart rate slowed, so had her breathing. Her blood had failed to supply her brain with the oxygen it needed to run, and it was this lack of oxygen that probably contributed more to Carrie's blue coloration than her body temperature. The doctors had given Mrs. Peterson only one tiny piece of good news. Because hypothermia lowers a body's metabolism, it reduced the likelihood that the oxygen deprivation had damaged Carrie's brain. That was it. That was what we were pitting all our hopes on. That the cold which nearly killed her had also slowed her brain down enough that it hadn't noticed it was suffocating. When we arrived at the hospital, Carrie's mom led me to her new room. I could tell from the looks the staff was giving her along the way that Mrs. Peterson was not their favorite person. Maybe she'd been a pain in the ass the day before, but It didn't feel like that was it. Not exactly. The nurses were giving Mrs. Peterson the same looks the kids at school gave her daughter. In movies and television, people frequently comment on how peaceful coma patients appear. They say, it's like they're asleep, they look like an angel, or it reminds me of when they were a baby and I used to hold them. I don't know if that was Mrs. Peterson's impression, but it certainly wasn't mine. Ordinarily, Carrie wore a lot of concealer to cover up her acne. At some point between plunging beneath the ice and having saline pumped in and out of her stomach, most of it had disappeared. She had a tube running into her nose, although I'm not sure why. Heart rate monitor on her finger and an IV in her arm. And that was to say nothing of the frostbite. Along with the big toe on her right foot and most of her left foot below the ankle, which we couldn't see beneath the blanket, ice crystals had formed in 2 fingers on her left hand and the thumb on the right. The blood trapped in her fingers swelled them almost to the same thickness as her wrists. They were red and raw. It was difficult not to stare at them. Mrs. Peterson believed that even in a coma, Carrie could hear us and proceeded to relive seemingly every moment of her daughter's life. Mrs. Peterson was not a gifted storyteller.
God. Every time, dude.
It's like, bro, at some point you got to be like, you know what? My bad. Like, it's like, no, maybe this woman doesn't have any problems. Maybe me, who got her daughter thrown into a river. Maybe I'm the problem. In her mind, nothing was too trivial. From the time she caught Carrie washing the dishes with cold water, which is apparently something you shouldn't do, to the time they went to Applebee's for her birthday and both forgot to tell the server, then wondered why they didn't get any cake. But what her stories lacked in content, Mrs. Peterson made up for in sentiment. She couldn't touch Carrie's hands, so she held her daughter's upper arm as she spoke.
I'm sorry I'm not home more. I'd like to be. I would. I know how hard school's been for you. Maybe it'd been easier if I was home more. I don't know. But you've done so good, baby. And college is right there.
This is so, like, because, you know, the links our author's gone to point out that they're not doing great, the Peterson family.
Mm-hmm.
But in spite of that, there's like, oh no, it's just like the sweet moments that her mom remembers is like going to Applebee's and
Yeah.
yeah. This is okay. I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy and not depressed. If Carrie was able to hear her mother, it wasn't outwardly apparent. Her face didn't twitch, her eyelids didn't flutter, even her pulse on the heart rate monitor held steady.
Remember in middle school? You never thought...
As Mrs. Peterson began to break down, she grabbed my wrist and pulled me to her daughter's bedside, forcing my hands to replace her on Carrie's arm.
You never thought you'd get a boy to like you? But look who's here. Oh, fuck. Brutal. Brutal.
But this story is cruel to show people.
I know. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for Scary Gary. Mom, you don't even know the half of it.
She 100% told her mom, like, oh, well, this boy, he's my boyfriend. He likes me. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
What if I beat myself to death with a bat?
I don't think that's going to help.
Would that get me out of the rest of this recording? It might. We'll find out.
It could, but there's a potential. There's a potential.
There's potential. You would probably find a way to make me keep going. Oh. My cheeks burned. I didn't know if Carrie had told her mother we were dating or if Mrs. Peterson had just gotten the wrong idea about us, but either way, I couldn't correct her. Not there. Wow, what an altruist you are.
I know. What a man.
Hero. Yeah. I had had enough trouble rejecting Carrie when we were alone in Greenfield. The thought of rejecting her again, this time in front of her mother, and stealing from Mrs. Peterson whatever sense of pride she derived from her daughter having a romantic life was more than I could bear. There's a special place in hell for people who humiliate children in front of their parents. I was very aware of my hands resting on her arms. She was so much warmer than the last time I touched her. I've never been quick on my feet. I had no idea what to say, especially with Mrs. Peterson thinking I was Carrie's, boyfriend? I took a page out of Mrs. Peterson's playbook and stood over my unconscious friend and recounted meeting her on the hike and a few anecdotes from class. I tried to muster up something more sentimental, but it wasn't until I pretended it was Alina laying there in front of me that any words came.
Oh.
Brutal. I can't stop thinking about you. I wish we could talk. I'd do anything to make you better.
Okay, I understand that he's not attracted to Carrie. That's whatever. But the fact that he can't say sweet things to her in front of her mother unless he imagines a girl that he's known for 2 weeks and has a crush on, laying there like, dude, come on, this girl's
he's
been your friend
down
for a
bad.
while.
Come on.
Man, I can't stop thinking about you. It's like you would say that to your friend. Hunter, if you were frozen to death on a bed and I was standing there, I would say, I wish we could talk. I'd do anything to make you better. Like, you don't need to imagine it as like a romantic partner to get those words out. It's okay.
Well, maybe.
Is that what you would do if I was frozen in a hospital bed? What would you do?
Yeah. If you were frozen in a hospital, you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, she absolutely isn't into him. He's just the one guy who's not evil to her right now because he can use her sexually. Yeah.
Hey, can we meet back up and kiss more?
Can we make out more? And can I put my leg between your legs, but you try to hold them together, but I pretend like I don't take the hint and keep forcing it?
Yeah, can we watch Good Luck Chuck on DVD and we can cuddle more on the floor in my room?
No, you love that. I know how much you liked that last time. She sounded tired. Maybe she hadn't gotten that much sleep before driving home, or maybe she was drained from therapy. Either way, it wasn't exactly the reaction I was hoping for.
I do love that from a 16-year-old guy's perspective. Man, she probably didn't get much sleep, or it's probably her therapy not realizing that it's like he is probably bringing her to the point of exhaustion with like how fucking needy he is.
Yeah, he is such a headache for her that like she is trying to show as little interest as possible in hopes that it'll drive him away. And he's like, I bet it's the therapy for the guy that set himself on fire in front of her workplace. I bet that's what's doing it.
Our protagonist is having this discussion while he's on a tree with binoculars looking into her window. She looks so tired tonight.
Her cancel tilt seems slightly off. Perhaps that is something about Rob.
Tilt. Too many cancel tilts. Also, we've had to record this episode over the course of like 3 days just because it's so long, and like it feels like a fever dream the amount of time I've heard cancel tilt.
Well,
this week.
Is that not the thing that like those red pill guys talk about all the time? It's like, oh, a woman will never love you because you're like cancel tilt and something else is like 2 degrees off, so you're not like prime marriage material. So you need to lift weights and hate women your whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're 100%. You're not wrong.
I 100% see our author as a cancel tilt kind of guy. I wasn't sure what I wanted to tell her about my trip to the Quabbin, or rather, I wasn't sure how to tell her. The whole idea of going was to alleviate her guilt. Having heard the bells, I knew that the story was at least partially true. There was more to the spire in the woods than the side effects of an antidepressant. But I also knew that Alina wouldn't take the news of Carrie very well. For that matter, I wasn't taking it all that great either.
I was
disappointed she hadn't greeted me more enthusiastically. This guy's insufferable.
He's becoming my red pill hero, honestly.
He is. He's getting more and more like, why is she not into me? What's her problem?
What's kind of weird is I'm almost picturing she goes up, she's like cold, shivering, knocks on the door, and opening up, and it's just David King standing right in the doorway. And he's like, hello, sweet kitten.
It's been some time since I've seen you, isn't it? Come here and warm yourself in my big, strong arms.
They're still on the porch. It's still snowing. She's freezing. Like,
yeah, she's like, can I come in?
Soon enough, my sweet little princess.
But first, your hand. He like gets down on a knee and kisses it.
He's like, you are my princess.
I see you haven't used the vanilla scented shampoo today. We'll have to fix that.
Yeah, don't worry. I got you cosmic brownie body soap. Very excited.
That's funny. I led her into the kitchen and set about making us a couple of mugs of instant hot chocolate. Alina leaned against the island behind me, but that didn't last for very long. Before I'd even gotten the mugs into the microwave, she was pacing and chewing nervously at her lower lip.
So what happened?
I handed her a mug.
Dude, Do you want to sit? No, I sat enough today.
I brought her into the den, which was further away from my parents' bedroom. The embers in my father's wood stove still glowed brightly, and I added a couple of small pieces of kindling.
Please tell me what you found.
I told her. I told her everything. How cold it was, what carrying Fletch had been like, what the smell of the smoke reminded me of. I told her about the sound the ice made, and I told her about the bells.
They were heavenly, but it wasn't just the sound. They fed something inside me. You know that part of you, that voice in your head that kind of experiences what's happening and sees through your eyes?
She was looking at me as I spoke, and I could almost see the part of her I was talking about behind her eyes.
Like the soul or whatever. It was like the bells enveloped it and gave it everything it ever wanted. Everything it was missing. For me, it was you.
Now that is a classic 16-year-old guy move, to have this whole grand experience and then tie it back to her at the end, like, well, you're all I want. Like, you're
Dinner time, and I want to thank you for giving me the best day of
the
my
most like
life.
Nicholas Sparks
Oh my God,
set
I
up
know,
ever.
dude.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Eat, pray, love.
What I missed was you. What my
Everything-
soul misses is you.
Everything my soul was missing was every bit of you.
Let me ask.
I want a kiss now. Kiss me.
So, didn't, other than Alina, because he's horny,
Sure.
didn't our author get everything he wanted? Because his whole idea was, I want to go to the bells to get some proof of the supernatural so that I can, like, believe in the afterlife, believe in God again.
Let me tell you something, Isaiah. I'm gonna tell you something. Maybe you haven't grown up enough to realize this yet, but
Mm.
The goalpost always changes. Let me tell you something. The goalpost always changes when pussy's involved. All right.
It does. You're right.
All right. So then you're sitting there. I bet you anything if Alina's just like, yeah, I love the devil. Fuck God. I'm a betting man. I'm a betting man. I bet our dear old protagonist would just be like, yeah, I fucking hate God too. I think he's kind of gay. Here, can I touch your boob? It would go in that direction, I think.
What you just said is like the stereotypical Sunday school lesson I had throughout my preteen years of like, guys, one day you're going to run into a woman and she's going to hate God. She's going to want you to hate God. And whatever she said.
Extremely based Sunday school teacher.
and what's really funny is that, thinking about all this in hindsight, you were the exact kind of person that VeggieTales warned me about.
Yeah. The tomato's just like, watch out for this guy. Yeah,
it's your picture. It's like VeggieTales and you're on a wanted poster behind them.
The cucumber's just like,
I don't know I don't think I like this guy very much, right, guys?
and then points over to the wanted poster, and it's just my face like.
He's gonna be into heavy metal music. He's gonna talk about drugs and sex.
That doesn't make any sense. In the Bible, Jesus got some pussy in the Bible, didn't he?
No.
Did he not? Jesus had to have gotten fucking laid some pipe, dude.
This is insane.
Didn't he?
No, he did not. It's not in there
whatever.
anywhere.
All right, so it wasn't on the books, but he fucking laid some pipe.
No, he was celibate. That's a big deal within
Yeah.
Christian belief and stuff like
All
that.
right.
He was celibate his whole life. He was the last of the prophets.
He was
ever married.
he was a carpenter, and all the ladies called him the Hammer.
Okay, we gotta go. This is insane. You are what? If they haven't made an episode about you yet, they're about to.
God's building a church. He's gonna march like a mighty.
All right. I can't entertain this. I can't. Yes, you and Alina here. You and Alina here are the same. Are cut from the same cloth of the kind of people that my mom warned me about growing up. Very scary. But you are right. But no, at the same time, like his whole thing was, I want to know that the supernatural exists in some capacity. Now he has evidence of that, but he doesn't really seem to be internalizing that.
No.
Even though that's that's a huge deal to like see proof of like the paranormal, you know?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, to play devil's advocate here, I don't think he really cared about anything as much until these feelings arised. And I think in his pursuit of his faith, whatever, the thing that was still stronger in the back of his mind was her. So I think, like, albeit that was his initial goal, I think that it had evolved by this point.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I feel maybe I'm just superimposing, but if I like saw proof of ghost, I feel like that would be a bigger deal to me, you know? Anyway,
Yeah, but
but getting laid and he likes this girl, this Russian chick, and yeah, blah, 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 yeah. It was a bit embarrassing, describing to her how the bells had reminded me what it felt like to lie beneath her, but how else could I have conveyed the contentment in their presence and the need in their absence, the bliss and the longing? It was romantic too, I thought. What could be more flattering for Alina to hear than my admission that my purest desire was to lie close to her, to feel her body against mine, that it quieted my soul, but she didn't react as though she were flattered. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted to hear, dude. Alina stared straight into the stove at the flames consuming the wood and said nothing. It took me a moment to realize that she was probably thinking. She was also what Rob heard in the bells, what quieted his soul. She was his bliss and longing, even if she never wanted to be. We sat in silence for a long time and watched the wood burn. Then I told her about how we had pressed on, and about what happened to Carrie. Even though it wasn't her fault, I knew Alina would blame herself for Carrie falling through the ice, just like she had blamed herself for Rob's suicide. It was a sort of negative feedback loop a person gets into when they're depressed. Everything's their fault. What I hadn't considered was how much I'd blamed myself. Beyond answering a few of my parents' questions about how Mrs. Peterson was doing, I hadn't told anyone about my return trip to the hospital. For that matter, I hadn't really told anyone how I felt seeing Carrie turning blue, or struggling to warm her up on the floor of Fletch's car. Telling Alina about it opened up the floodgates inside me. Alina let me speak until I couldn't get any more words out. Then she slid along the couch to my side, wrapped me in her arms, and held me like a child. For a moment, I felt shame. I had never judged other guys for crying. I had sat beside Fletch when he was overcome by grief, but this was different. Carrie hadn't died, and I was with Alina, who I wanted more than anything to think of me as a man. I felt so small. She ran her hand up and down my back. Little by little, I became more aware of her and her closeness to me than I was of my emotions. Her face was cradled against her neck. My cheek brushed hers as I moved to look up at her. Her eyes looked as though she had been crying too. I kissed her and come on, dude. We were having a moment. This is like, I was like, well, she's cradling him in like a comforting way because she knows that she gives comfort to him and it's like a kindness. And of course, I don't think that was the vibe she was giving off, but whatever.
I think he's getting ready to get into a little fucking here.
I feel like that ruins it, does it not? I mean, obviously not for him, but like he went from like I needed her to think of me as big and strong, but like I felt safe with her. I was able to let my emotions out.
It's propped up. There's a fire going. He was just he laid his soul out there, bare and all, and they've cried together. This is the part in every story or movie when guess what? The fucking my tears gone cold, I'm wondering why got out of bed at all. See, exactly. That's what's getting ready to happen.
Take my breath away. I guess whatever. I don't know. I just felt like that was maybe the one legitimate moment of affection he's had with Alina thus far.
I mean, I think that he's had a legitimate affection this whole time. I think he's just kind of he's a horny 16-year-old.
I mean, like that it's been reciprocated because every other time it feels like he's just pushing Alina as far as she'll go before she says something. But this was like she held him and let him cry. That was like a very like
and that's what I'm saying. Moment. I think the doorway's open. I think the walls are down, dude.
I think if anything, she's manipulating him to get more of what she wants. But we'll see if
I love that Red Pill answer, dude. Yeah, she's using him.
Maybe that was a little bit. I'm saying I have seen zero signs that she's attracted to him, and now she's going along with it. Maybe, yeah.
All right.
He deserves to be manipulated, to be clear. Like, for this level, Alina should be like, you know what? Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Here's this. Go find the bells. Go get them, boy.
Right.
Like, I kissed her, and it was like the first time. With her lips slow to respond, slowly, we inched our way back onto the couch until I was lying on top of her. It felt like the bells. My hand traced its way down her arms and over her shirt. My pulse beat faster than it had before. I was actually aware of my body, how it felt, where it was in relation to Alina's, but had lost all consciousness thought. Aware of nothing but touch and pulse. I slid my hand beneath her clothes. She didn't stop me. Her sweatpants came down easily. She trembled. She was nervous, so was I. My hand shook as I took my own pants down. I never exposed myself to anyone. Her face was inscrutable. I don't feel right describing the details of her body. We were kids then. I'm an adult now. I didn't know what I was doing then. I now know. It was my first time. I don't know if it was hers. We don't exactly talk these days. It was short and fumbling and awkward, but I thought at that time that it was divine. Afterwards, I didn't want her to leave, but she got dressed anyway. She was shaking as she pulled... Gosh. She was shaking as she pulled up her pants and crying by the time she reached... Oh my God. See, this is what I mean. It was a legitimate moment, and now it's this. Now it's complicated, weird, and she feels uncomfortable. She was shaking as she pulled up her pants and crying by the time she reached the door. I thought maybe she was scared because we hadn't used a condom or that it was her survivor's guilt. I was wrong.
Hey, you.
She was reluctant to let me hug her.
It's okay. We didn't do anything wrong.
She said yeah and ran her hand back through her wild hair, not to get it out of her face, but like you would if you didn't know the answer on a test. After she left, I stood at the window for a long time, staring out into the night at the place where her taillights had disappeared. Okay, was I not right then? That he shouldn't have taken it to that degree? That it was not the time?
I mean, probably no. I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know. What listen, I'm not a fucking. I'm not. I have no idea. All right.
Okay.
There's mystical goddamn bells in the forest, and there's a Russian foreign exchange student. A kid got set on fire. I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore.
You were all about him going for it a second ago. To be clear.
No, listen. I didn't say I was going for it. I'm just saying this is the part which bear
where
trap
that
again.
Happens.
Bear trap again. I was like,
no,
this is the part.
Trap. It was starting up the romantic scene, and you're like, oh, I think this will be romantic. Like, that's not a bear trap.
I said this is the part in the story or movie when the getting's good is what I said. That I didn't say I didn't want it to happen. I'm just saying that's all the signs were there.
You are right that you didn't say you wanted it to happen, so I'll let that one lie. I didn't sleep easily that night. I felt like I should have been more excited than I was. A lifetime of coming-of-age movies and pop culture had led me to believe I'd feel somehow different about myself in the world, but I didn't. The view from my bed looked exactly as it had the night before. Carrie was still in the hospital, and far from restoring Alina to her former self. Consummating our relationship had left her as unhappy as ever. I tried to imagine a future with Alina, one where I made her as happy as she made me.
Why'd you laugh there?
Because he's just insufferable at this point.
He's just insufferable.
He's insufferable. Like he's talking about the girl who likes him, who's been his friend for years, who he put in the hospital. In the same breath, he talks about how he's trying to do the best for Alina by pushing her to the furthest possible place that she will allow him to push her every time. I need bad things to happen to him.
Got out of bed alone. Morning glories up my window, and I can see you. And even if I couldn't, I'll be got your picture on my wall, and it reminds me that it's not so bad. It's not so bad, and yeah, I'm telling you. I gotta
Dear Slim, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I left my pager mouth.
I gotta put that shit on my Spotify, dude. I haven't listened to that shit in a long time. Want to thank you.
Do you know? Do you know that? Do you know the Top Gun song during that romantic scene?
Mm-mm.
Take My Breath Away. It's like the all-time best like hookup track in a movie ever.
Oh yeah, is it like super 80s and synthy or something, or like? Kinda
Oh
like...
yes, of course. Bow, 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 bow. Yeah, it's great. Take my breath away. It's so good. The entire soundtrack's good, but anyway,
God, I
this
fucking
movie,
love.
yes.
You like Dido? I love Dido. That song's called "Thank You" by Dido. She also has that song "White Flag." You know that song?
I don't think I know that one.
If you heard it, you'd know. White Flag. It goes like, and I will
That's
go
all for
down
today,
with
folks.
this ship, and I will put my hands up in surrender. There will be no white flag above my door.
You also got to remember that you've got like 20 years on me. So, like, my first exposure to Dido was when I went back to listen to Stand. So, and like the feature there. That was like the first time I ever heard Dido. So, I'm a child. You have to remember that.
I'm a child. Well, that's why I have to. That's why I have to remember that you're so close to these high schoolers' ages that I have to like really keep in mind your
Where's this going?
perspective for this time.
Where's this going? Where's this going?
Well, you're younger. You're gonna be like, I remember. I barely remember my fucking high school experience.
Well, this character was in high school in 1999, right? I was born in 1999. Did that just shut you down?
You know what, dude? We don't have to fucking talk about our ages on this stupid ass podcast, all right?
All right. Anyway, I tried to imagine a future with Alina, one where I made her as happy as she made me, but I only wound up thinking about the bells. Maybe she needed to hear them. Well, I don't like that. I fell asleep shortly before 3 in the morning, which, unbeknownst to me, was almost exactly when Carrie woke up screaming. I'd love to tell you what Carrie's first words were. Unfortunately, I can't. When her heart had slowed down, an area of her brain, located beneath her left temple, hadn't received enough oxygen. Essentially, she'd had a stroke, which left her with a condition called expressive aphasia. She could make sounds, that was no problem, and with effort she could say words, but she couldn't form sentences.
Oh my God.
Whew, man. That's...
I'm happy she survived, but fuck's sakes, in this
that
state,
is
good
rough.
Lord.
Permanently maiming a girl who was your friend, who cared about you.
Yeah, she's just talking to you Planet of the Apes style.
Of course, Mrs. Peterson and I didn't know when she picked me up the morning of New Year's Eve. All we knew was that Carrie was awake.
God.
Mrs. Peterson shook with laughter as we drove down 495. She was going so fast I thought Ecto-1 was going to disintegrate, like one of those experimental jet planes you see in old stock footage. Carrie's mom, beaming with pride, clapped her hand down on my knee and said,
Boy, I will tell you, you got yourself one tough girl.
bro,
What?
this is so sad.
Yeah, I know. Well, I hate that. I
Yeah,
hate that he just
yeah.
hasn't. Like, at least at this point, I would just be like, "Oh, we're not dating. We're just friends." I don't think that's rude to say, is it? That's not rude.